Okay, Mayor Westergaard.
Yes.
Moller.
Yes.
Stanky.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yep.
Reese.
Yes.
Would anybody like to address the council in public forum?
Yes, I would.
Dave?
I'm just wondering where we're at with, if there's been any more talk about, resolution to the dump burning.
Well, we talked to Costa Grain and they don't do that. So Scott called the Carroll landfill and they have a guy from the Mars comes down and grinds it. So we called him a week ago and left him a message. He hasn't called us back, so that's what we know. Nobody else seems to want to come and do it.
And then another question is why is the dump still burning?
It's been 7 weeks.
But well, they went out and put water on it. We can't put it out.
Well, you can keep putting water on it.
The fire department doesn't think they can put it out no matter how much water we put on it.
Well, I'd like to see them try. I mean, I'm still camping in my backyard or in my house right now.
Well,
It's smoky as hell right now,
I'll
so.
talk to Jim, see if they can dump some water on it.
My question is, all the new brush that they're cutting the branches off these trees in town
Is
are
that getting-
green,
Yeah, is that getting pushed over into the burn
are
pile?
they getting ignited?
I don't know where they're dumping it. I doubt it.
When I went by
Where's all this
yesterday-
brush going?
Hey, you guys been driving by at the bus, so I mean,
Just-
you get
When I went by yesterday, that stuff was not making it to the fire,
okay.
so.
We don't want
Thank
that
you.
green stuff to burn. That'll smoke.
Well, that's all it's been burning, so, I mean.
But we're gonna try to do some different things. We're gonna try to burn it more often so it's not such a big pile that burns so forever. But we'd like to find this guy. If they can grind this up at a reasonable cost, I don't know why we wouldn't do it.
Well, burning's not an option anyway, because that's actually not an Iowa code. You guys are breaking the law right there, so.
The DNR says we're not.
Well, the DNR told me you are.
I submitted a form that stated the Iowa code law the last
Those
session.
papers that we handed out that night have Iowa code on there, and they evidently, you didn't read them.
Well, I know
And
we
the
have a permit
state,
from the
I did
DNR.
contact and
You
you
have a
are
permit from-
breaking the law.
You have a permit from DNR, but you don't have a permit from DNR to burn green wood or leaves. That's not allowable.
And a bonfire to boot, and that's not even a bonfire, that's way beyond a bonfire out
I'm
there.
not quitting on this anymore. I'm tired of it, and I'll take it as far as I have to go.
And we're working on it. This
But
guy hasn't
but
called
it's
us
still
back.
burning, I mean,
Yeah.
so you're not working that hard on it,
Well, I'm taking
Just
advice
because
from
it
the
only
fire
affects a few people, you think,
We don't think that way.
I
I
have
don't
had,
smell it either.
I have had a couple of people approach me that do not want the dump closed.
we don't want the dump closed.
We
Nobody
aren't
said
asking
anything
that.
about that.
Why are you throwing that at
John
us?
threw that out there the first night to get everybody's feathers ruffled.
We used
Nobody
that
said
dump.
anything about closing the dump. I just said I'd like for it to quit burning, and I don't think that's too much to ask.
When I've talked to the fire department, they don't think they can put it out. They've tried in the past, put it out when we complained in the past, so.
And as I said before, all the purdies spent on the purdies of this town, and you can't afford a wood chipper for the public's health and welfare? Don't you think our tax dollars go for that? Don't you think the community would want that for their health and welfare?
Have you looked into a chipper? Big
I haven't
one?
looked into a chipper.
No, I mean a big grinder like that, like Custer's.
But like I said, you can hire
You
people to
can
come in and
charge
do it.
for the mulch. It's a win-win situation for everybody.
That is what we're looking at there, we just don't have
Yeah.
price yet. It is a commercial grinder
Right.
that grinds,
I've seen the advertising.
grinds wood. So Coster and a traditional tub grinder, they wouldn't do it.
How much land was purchased out here for our sewer plant?
10 acres.
Yeah, 14 acres.
14 acres.
14 acres?
How much is that is getting actually used at this point? For
How much of it will be?
The lion's share of it's being used, but I couldn't tell you exactly what, but most of it.
We didn't buy any more than we had to.
Well, I was just thinking if you were asking what you could do with the bigger logs that could be taken out there and burned.
and supervised and away from the city and the public.
But every time we burn it, the wind changes. I haven't seen it yet where it worked out where we thought it was gonna go. We thought wait until winter when the wind came out of the north it'd work.
But let's face it, when you have a dump sitting west of town, where does our weather come from?
Well, it won't come from there. In the summertime, it comes from the south. That's why we don't burn it in the summer.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, to me, it's in the dumbest place anyway, so I mean,
But that's what we were all handed that. We didn't start the dump. We're just trying to
Yeah,
figure
you
out how to
did.
fix it.
It took
Start
your
burning it.
permission.
No. Well, from what I know, we have a permit from the DNR to do it.
I just know it's against Iowa code law that you guys are breaking. And if you follow and look at the code, it states in there that green lumber is not supposed to be burned because it lets off bad toxins, along with leaves, which always get ignited out every year. I've called Scott every year.
Yeah, that's true. You know, again, Dave, of course, we contest that. We've been through this with the DNR several times about what's permissible and what's not, and it is permissible.
It is
I
not.
I understand you don't like it, but it
It's
is
not.
permissible.
No, what was-
DNR has told us, Scott, plain and simple, that they do not give you permission to burn leaves and green lumber. And when it is burned, it's supposed to be enough to be able to burn within a 24-hour period, and that's it.
And supervised.
And supervised, which none of the above is done. Nobody supervises that. You can say, I got a camera out there, but who monitors that? Nobody.
Who monitors
Unless somebody
it
throws a
during the
chair
night?
out at the dump, and then we gotta go back and see who threw the chair out there.
Sure, yeah.
But otherwise, nobody looks at it. It's just ridiculous. I
Since
just,
the last meeting, I have gone to the doctors and have been put on 3 steroids. I have asthma and allergies to smoke. I'm just one of many.
and does the city wanna pay hospital bills or doctor bills? No.
Should we submit those to you?
But do we have to pay them because we're sick because of that damn dump burning? Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
You're giving the public,
And I'm not gonna let it go this
Sweep 'em out
time.
under the
I'm not. I mean, like I said, Scott, I've called you every year for how many years about the same problem. And I always hear the same, we're not breaking any law.
this last time, between
That's all I
the 2
get.
of us, 4 times we have called you, Scott, and walked in.
Like I tell you, we're waiting for a price from this guy from Lamar's if he grinds it. We'll find out then.
We're just saying this should be first priority.
Yeah, instead of brush to the side like it always gets.
I mean, we called this guy to see if we can get a price, see if we can make it work.
And I appreciate that, but I still think somebody needs to go out there tomorrow and put that dump out.
Well, I can ask Jimmy if he give it a try, if he thinks he can do it, but if he thinks he can't do it, I can't.
I still would appreciate water sprayed on the fire, I mean, that's not,
And why had it taken so long for you to send the trucks out there? After all the complaints? I know there were way more complaints than
We
just
thought
us.
it would burn a lot quicker than it did.
this is 7 weeks of this
Oh, yeah,
crap.
I don't like smelling it either, and I really feel bad for people that can't breathe, that's a bad thing, nobody wants that.
I literally had a daughter die in front of me and had to do CPR on my daughter with asthma. I've had, both of my parents had lung cancer and died from it. Have you ever watched anybody struggle for their last breath?
Yes, many people,
It's a hard thing to witness.
yes.
And when something can be prevented, it better be prevented.
And that's what we're trying to do.
I appreciate it, like I said, but
If I'd have
To
found
me-
out the price
to me-
before the meeting, I would've come over and told you that.
But to me, the last few nights again, this thing's been smoldering. You guys dumped a bunch of water on it one time before a council meeting to make people happy because you knew people were gonna come up here and bitch about it. And
Yeah,
then,
just that was the same day we pushed the thing back, Dave, so of course, you know, it was a coordinated effort about what was happening.
And I find it
you see
very,
it one way, I see it another.
That's,
I find it very
And that's-
ironic you picked that day when you knew Channel 4 News was coming into town to promote our new handicapped building for DNR.
Nobody knew they were coming, except for DNR and Fred Huffman.
I'm just saying, I find it funny.
We're working
Just
on it.
know, we're not gonna let this go.
That's fine.
And I'll be up here hounding you guys every chance and opportunity I get until something gets done. And I don't think we're asking too much, I really don't.
We are up here for the public.
If I have to get a lawyer involved, I honestly will. I'm that fed up with it.
But we're working on it. If I'd have found out the price of that Lamar's guy, I would've come over and told you we had a price.
This should never went this far with past problems with this. This
Yeah.
has been going on for years. Mr. Kurth came up here.
Yeah.
It stopped for like 5 years when the attorney came up and presented his case. He lives 2 houses down,
I think,
or he did.
I don't
Mr.
think we've
Kirk.
ever stopped burning it.
Yeah, they did.
Yes, you
After Chris
did.
came up here and raised hell, they
This
quit.
is the
Didn't they,
first
Scott?
time since then.
I would admit, it's been a long time since we've burned, and it's been probably over a year since we've burned in this.
No, I'm talking, Kurth was up there
But-
way before then.
And that time, we actually had damage to our gazebo and property, our shingles.
Yeah, I still got a canopy on my
I'm
gazebo
just
that's
happy we
burnt.
didn't burn up.
No, all I can tell you is we're working on it, see where we stand.
I appreciate it, and like I said, I'd appreciate somebody going out there tomorrow and shooting some water on it.
I'll call Jimmy tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you guys.
Okay, consent agenda. Any additions or corrections?
Nope.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second it.
roll call.
Muller,
Yes.
Stanky.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Bolton.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna talk about the sale of the property at 7 and 800 blocks of High Street.
So we've talked with the property owners down there about folks who might be interested in purchasing, and you see that's in your memo about Corey potentially interested in purchasing parcel A. I think there's some new news about that tonight. Mike McNace, purchasing parcel C, which is east of his home. He'd be interested in purchasing parcel B, which is behind Sandy Gross's, if the city would work with them on price. You know, I've talked to them about that, to just relay that, you know, we can't really work with them on price. We gotta sell at market value, and we don't have the opportunity for negotiations on that. You know, so we had made this decision back at the beginning of the process about whether you take bids on it to establish value, or whether we would take value from a broker's opinion, which we chose to do. Okay, and then the third one's there, Bill and Leanne Davis to purchase parcel D, and they might be interested in some others too. So they're here. So what's the updates on?
Is your intention still to keep an alley and a snowmobile trail? Or is that one and the same?
Two separate. Yeah,
20-foot snowmobile trail and a 20-foot alley.
Yep. Yep.
That would put your alley right where the trees are.
Yep. It's a very, very close to right around there. Yep.
So who keeps that up then, the alley, the city keeps that alley up for a while?
No, we never have.
No, we
Yeah,
never
we
have.
haven't.
They've always.
No, but I mean,
You know,
I didn't do anything.
I would just, my recommendation to them is that unless somebody has built something back there and it requires easement, that the city not improve it. That it would not have a surface.
And it would be open on, between Jim and Kathy and Londa's, that also would be open then? The
Still,
entire-
yeah, just status quo on that it's, you know, it's open now. You know, just
Yeah.
practically speaking, it's not, about the way that it's utilized.
So what are the issues gonna be for Londa? I mean, what, is she gonna be able to park where she's been parking? Are you guys gonna enforce that? You know,
don't know
I
how
just
we
look
change
at it as status quo.
Yeah, we're not gonna change anything.
okay.
I don't have any interest in
We're only doing this because you guys came to us, otherwise this wouldn't even have come across.
Right. Well, we came thinking we were gonna give you that snowmobile trail and all of us would get beyond that and
It's never that easy.
I know. I realize that now. That's part of the reason why the rest of them bailed out, I think, is because when they found out they were gonna lose an additional 20 foot, they didn't think that,
So the price is too high for 30-foot of property.
Yolanda is actually the one that's gonna get the least amount of property, because that narrows down to a point. So that was her reason for not, and I can't speak for Sandy or Bob, but I just know that they said they thought, you know, with the alley being back there, I mean, everybody was agreeable that we had an entrance in and out, our land wasn't landlocked, and that was their big concern, was the fact that we went ahead and left the alley open. And so then they were like, well, that means anybody can drive through there at any given time, you know, whether they live back there or not, so that wasn't, you know, that kind of took the idea out of it for a lot of them, so to speak. I don't know about Cory, but, and so. What?
I'm just listening.
Oh,
Because tonight the council's gonna be asked to pass a motion to sell the property or not.
Yeah, because we've incurred some cost here, so if no one buys it, I mean, it's gonna stay the way it is, right? And we have to still pay. the
Yeah,
cost.
you know, the biggest fee is that there's that, the surveyor's fee, was about $1,500, and then there'll be a little bit of legal fees from Dave,
the surveyor's fee was how much?
about $1,500.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking.
You
What
know,
did,
the other side of that though is that if they are interested in purchasing 2 out of the, what is there, 6 or 7 lots?
6.
Yep, if they're interested in purchasing 2 out of the 6 lots, it makes for a weird situation back there if the other 4 are still owned by the public.
Right.
In which case, it may be very well in your best interest not to do anything.
And besides, Bill had some real concerns about it, I know, because of the utilities.
but there
Well, if
is,
they're keeping it up anyway, I mean, it's no expense to us except what was here now, what we,
I know Bill's worried about utilities, but honest to God, the utilities aren't there. They're right behind my house. You guys would have to drive through my personal
The
yard.
utilities are right there regardless.
Yeah.
And-
there's gonna be an easement,
That was-
you know, for utilities, so to me that.
There would always be an easement for
Yeah.
utilities regardless,
I mean,
in my opinion.
my deed and abstract shows an easement right now for the city of Lakeview. Come behind my garage and change out that monstrosity of a whatever, but I have to mow around all the time. So, you know,
well, I guess that'd be my, you know, is if it's kept up, you know, and not looking at a weed patch here,
what happens
I think
if
we're better
all of
off
us
than-
decide not to keep it up anymore?
unless, yeah, if you guys don't wanna buy it, you know, then.
You know,
Who's
that's the
gonna
thing,
buy
I mean,
20
for
feet?
30+ years, we've kept it up, but what happens if all of us decide not to and we let it grow up? Who's gonna mow it?
This is the cities.
City will have to mow it.
Yep.
And that's added expense for you guys to have somebody come down there and mow, gas, wear, tear, I mean, you know, it's either way, it's a handful regardless.
We should be paying you guys for keeping it up for so many years, don't you think?
Whatever.
Say what?
I said that.
Yeah.
Get out your wallet.
It's never that easy.
No, it's not.
But it's not the city, it's everybody's money, we all.
Exactly.
Right.
And I get that, you know, I don't know. Good,
So were you looking at purchasing any other ones other than the one behind your house?
Probably not.
So just that one.
so if Mike purchases his and we purchases ours, right there you've got your $1,500 out of your survey.
Now, on the deal with Corey'd be interested in purchasing that, with a couple things. We do have pending nuisance action with him, which would limit whether he could sell that or not. And then he was just talking about, potentially being able to clear up that title to that property. And that would change the way as far as what Corey could do with it then too. Any update there, Weber?
I'll know in 3 weeks, I called him today. And granted, I should have done that way before, when I bought the vault business, that kind of sidetracked me and I kind of put that on the back burner. Should that have happened? No, it shouldn't have.
So tonight, we're only looking to approve just the 2 purchases then? Is that-
You could look at, yeah, you could approve the 2 purchases. You could choose not to sell. I would also say that you could just table again until, you know, if you'd like to keep
So my
keep it
concern
down
is,
the road.
so the ones that don't get sold, so they're not gonna upkeep it, so we'd have to go back there and do that. What does that allow us to go down, still allows us to go to the alley to get to that place if we have to mow?
Okay.
Okay.
There's plenty of
But-
public access back
But
there.
instead of mowing a whole strip, now we're gonna mow, and then we're
Yeah.
gonna drive, and then we're gonna mow.
Well, no, they're gonna keep up just like they always did, not
Don't matter.
necessary,
No, not no more.
I see.
I'm gonna mow what's mine and I'm not gonna mow anymore.
I mean, the 20 feet that you was gonna buy, you're still be mowing that,
Yep.
and everybody would that 20.
But see, I mow right now, we mow the snowmobile trail, we pick up trees when they fall down, we cut them up, we haul them off, we do all that stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, we've had 3 trees fall down, and it's been Phil and Mike and Bob back there cutting the trees up and hauling them out of there, which, that's city property. So, that's not, those kind of things aren't gonna get done by all of us. We're not gonna continue at this point. I'll
think
mow
we
what
oughta-
I need to mow, and
Table this till next week or in a couple weeks or something, I don't know what the. Somebody, it sounds to me like somebody needs to do some thinking about this.
Well, you know, you hate to keep kicking it down the road, but if you table it for maybe a month or more, and if Corey can come up with an answer about where it's at.
That should clear mine up.
You want a motion
Because you were gonna do
cancel it
2?
for a
I'll-
month?
Yeah,
Postpone it?
Yeah.
let's table it for a month.
If possible.
If Mike won by the other one, yeah,
So you were gonna do 2, maybe.
I would do 1, I think Mike was gonna do 2, and these guys would do 1.
And you were gonna do 1,
So
so
that's
that's
gonna be
4.
pretty well on the
well,
north end
originally,
there.
you know, we talked about doing more, but we didn't realize that that alley was gonna stay open, we were gonna lose. You know, we thought the alley was gonna be over like where you guys have your snowmobile trail, and, which really, there's plenty of room there for all that.
But, you know, I don't see a problem with selling them, and if we sell them, we're gonna recoup our expenses, the taxpayers' money by selling them. And I don't see that there being any issues other than, we haven't, never had any issues down there before.
But now you're gonna have to mow.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to take care of it.
If we don't
And it
sell.
does make it a little harder when you're jumping all around.
Not that much.
Not with them horse.
Terry has a motion to delay it 30 days. Is there a second to that motion? Motion dies for lack of a second. What would the council like to do?
I'll make a motion, we sell the properties.
So just to clarify, what we'd be looking at is just 2 of them then, so we'd be selling 1.
2 of them for now, and if the other ones come down the road, why can't we do that?
We can't.
Is there a second to that motion?
Well, I'll second it. I mean, just well. Gotta do something.
Roll
So we're
call.
selling 2, so
Selling
you're
2.
selling parcel C to Mike McNace and parcel D to the Davises.
Roll call.
Okay. Voltman,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Moller,
No.
Stankin,
Yes.
Tom.
Well, I don't know. I guess yes. Not real happy about it, but.
That's not the perfect situation, but I mean, it's,
Yeah,
So
it's
that-
not, and that was not my intentions. When I originally started, we came here thinking all of us were gonna get our property back there. A useless alley that absolutely no one uses but us neighbors,
Yes.
and then it all fell apart. So,
Well, we'll sell those and work it.
So we will have our attorney then prepare documentation on it. If you guys want an abstract or anything on it, that'd be up to you.
right.
You know, you'll get a quick claim deed from the city and that's what you'd get.
Well, something that might come up too with this, mowing that, you know, we may have to buy a bigger mower out there for the sewer too. Say, I mean, a wider and backwood tractor or something, you know, just to keep that mowed. You know, and then they could, it'd take one round and make a, you know, it's all you have to clean it up. You know, I don't know, you know, but that's a long ways down the road yet.
Yeah, it is, and I guess I'd like to give it a try with Fulton back, because we got some good equipment.
Well, sure, that's what I mean.
And especially see how that, how the new lagoon site goes,
Well, sure, yeah.
and how easy it is to mow the embankments, and they're supposed to be mowable,
Well, yeah,
so,
I would think so.
yep.
Thank you for your participation in this. Okay, we'll move on to resolution 1901, listing gross salaries for elected and appointed officers.
Yep, just an annual requirement to list the wages, and that will be published.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Mulder,
Yes.
Bolton, Reese,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yes.
Tom,
Okay, resolution 1902 is approving the appointment of a fire chief. Do you have that motion?
Yes.
Second,
Second. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
roll call.
Bolton,
Yes.
Reese,
yes,
Mulder,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Okay, 1904 is a resolution with our development agreement with
One.
Heath.
No,
Oh,
three.
What, three was it?
members of the
Number three,
fire
yeah.
department.
I worked on three. 1903,
Oh, first. I mean, I'll do it.
oops, okay, second,
I'll second.
roll call.
Bolton,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Reese,
yes.
Mulder.
Yes.
Now we'll do 04.
Yeah, so let's just take a look at the development agreement here real quick. Just, it is, so after our meeting, it would have been, I think, our first meeting in December, when we had made a few changes to it. Dave Jennett prepared those changes, but the changes are those three that we had talked about. City brings the abstract up to date at city expense. City would have asbestos abated at an estimated cost of $8,000. Okay, the agreement then says if the asbestos abatement costs more than $8,000, we both agree to seek an agreeable division of cost. It doesn't say 50-50, but that we would negotiate what the additional costs are. On the asbestos, we do have a walkthrough with asbestos contractors tomorrow. So that happens tomorrow morning, and we'll have actually bids on that on Friday. Right away.
I thought they already did that.
No, they've done the study.
Oh,
Okay, so they've done the study to identify where the asbestos was, and now this is the contractors coming in to abate the asbestos.
couldn't take a pencil long and get that all done.
I'll make a motion that we approve the development agreement.
And I'll second.
Roll call.
Tom,
Yes.
Mulder,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes,
Bolton,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 497.
Yeah, let's
Sewer
take
rates?
a look at some of this stuff on sewer, a little update. Flip to page 17. It's just a financial recap of the sewer fund for the past several years of actuals, and then it's a re-estimated budget for this year. What our anticipated budget might be for next year, and then an estimate then for 2021. As you look at the amount of the rate increases, we will be proposing, this 1921 that we're considering right now is the fifth of what would be 6 rate increases. So that 2021 would also be at 12.5% then next year. And as we work through the construction, taken in 2 years, 2 different budget years for the construction to be accomplished. But then as you get down to the bottom, you can see how we generally do on third line from the bottom, plus or minus, whether we basically make any money during those years, and it's always still, somewhat tight as far as whether we would actually make any money, because the amount of debt service is increasing so dramatically. And you can see that the sewer fund would keep balance there of $260,000, $270,000 to be anticipated then in the upcoming years. Now we flip that next page. What that page 18 shows is the debt schedule. The stuff in black on the left side, that's the debt schedule. And you can see that over the course of these years, this 30-year of repayment, for the most part, debt service is about $300,000 or more annually. See lots of $311,000 numbers there. Okay, so that's the amount of debt service that we would be paying annually. That amount of debt service is substantially more than what our entire sewer budget used to be in the past. So it's more than doubling what our operation costs are. And flip to the next page. Again, this is the pro forma that's been completed by our financial advisor through Piper Jaffray. And we want to look at those numbers on the bottom, the very bottom line there for debt service coverage, because it is required that we have debt service coverage of at least 1.1. And we always maintain coverage of 1.1, but sometimes it's pretty close. And that is that we always would have enough money available to pay basically 110% of what the debt would be. So that's a requirement. So this shows the past couple of years, with an actual and a budget, and then that starts to estimate out into the future. So talking with our financial analyst, about the position of where we sit right now, is generally content with where we're at on the amount of revenues coming in that we would need to be funding our debt service. We are now starting to pay that debt service. This year, we're just paying interest. It's budgeted at $42,000. Next year, we pay almost virtually exclusively interest. We pay $10,000 principal and all that interest money, because next year is also the last year that we're paying debt on the sewer mechanical plant. Okay, so that's why we're not paying much for principal next year. But after that, then we get to where it'll just be these annual payments. To know that we have ample amounts of money to pay that at the end of the year, we will do the same thing that we do right now, that every month you'll see a transfer of money go into our sinking fund. But we currently do about $8,000, something like that, and it'll be, $25,000 or more every month to get transferred in.
2 years ago, their estimates didn't come out to where they expected.
As far as the amount of revenues,
Right.
yeah. And you can kind of see that on some of my numbers. If you just flip back to page 17, we had always told folks we're doing 12.5% increases, and you can see the amount of where it says percent rate increase, that's actually the percent of revenue increase, that it didn't reach that 12.5. And as we're looking at that, the rates were stipulated in our study from the engineer originally. It always said 12.5%, but what that was 12.5% off the original base rate. So as you worked into years 3 and 4, it wasn't 12.5%, it was 10% or less. So we've had to change that to make sure that it's 12.5%. One of the other changes in the budget number for this year, the re-estimated and then forward, deals with our splash pad, about how we charge ourselves for that. So just that our sewer fund pays for the expense down there, but it also then receives the revenue. It's just an in and out, but it just inflates both the revenue and the expenses then a little bit.
Kind of like you do with the campground.
Similar, that's similar.
So actually, they'll be paying that 12.5% every year, but it won't increase, right?
Yeah, so there's 12.5% one more time.
Right.
Then you look at the pro forma, it shows some additional increases in the future. They pencil in at 1.5%, but the year after, this last 12.5% is a little more. I want you to take a look though at page 21, and this kind of will tell you, Terry, about that. This is then actually what the customer fees are. If we have an average user that uses 4,000 gallons of water, you see in March of 2014, the bill was $24.64. Now in March of 19, it'd be $42.70. So it does, it's been gradual, but yeah, it will more than double.
It almost has already, a lot of times, and on my bills that I'm getting at the apartments, it's already doubled or a little more even, so.
Okay. Yeah, these are the numbers, so it'll show you how much it's going up. And one thing that we did study is wanted to make sure that we're doing okay on the amount of revenue that's generated, because you get concerned that as cost increases, that the consumption decreases. People realize that it costs more, so they use less. We just haven't found that to be the case. That
So far.
consumption over the past 3 years has been pretty stable. But yeah, you know, it's always a concern that as costs continue to go up, that folks would reduce their consumption. And we've seen that some with additional watering meters and that type of stuff, but the net hasn't really played out that way.
The one thing that's played probably a big part in that too is like these, well, even in toilets, they, instead of dumping 5 gallons, they're dumping 2.5 or whatever, you know, or 2.4, you know, just, they're using under half the water, you know, they what used to use.
Sure.
And that's a big deal.
Back when we put the new water meters in, we found out that we're giving a lot of water away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our,
And so we kind of plugged that hole a little bit, haven't we?
yeah, absolutely. The amount of our water loss, you know, we had been up around 40 and 50%, and it's down between 20 and 30, which is, still sounds like a lot, but that's actually okay.
Keeps pipes running,
Pardon me?
keeps pipes clean.
Well. You know, I guess from my end, we're ready to have the first reading of this ordinance. The ordinance would propose that this rate would be in effect as of the bills that go out on the 1st of March.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Roll call.
Thank you.
Yes.
Muller,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Bolton.
Yep.
Thomas.
Yes.
Okay, we gotta pay Goodman Hicks again for estimate 6.
Are you gonna pay them again?
We have a motion to approve the payment.
So
So,
moved.
second.
Roll call.
Muller,
Yes.
Bolton.
Yep.
Reese,
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Okay, we wanna pay the retainings on Legacy Power. Bill says he's quite happy with them.
Yep, that's been a good one, and yeah, nothing outstanding as far as bills or anything like that.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
roll call.
Reese,
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Bolton.
Yep.
Muller.
Yes.
Okay, we got the new website up and running. And, we budgeted 10,000, we used 9,500, I believe, for the company, but Connie put in a lot of extra work.
She put in about 192 hours, and if we paid her $20 an hour, which you would not find any kind of a web setup for that, that's $35.40. So I just wonder if we couldn't give her, you know, at least 3,000 or what anybody thinks. She's also gonna do the upkeep, kind of in addition, is the way I understand it. Whereas before, we couldn't do that, and then we had to pay that Blue Space a lot of money, and like, we had 2015 banner on there for 3 or 4 years. So they, you know, that didn't work very well for us, so I just think, Community Club, she works for a community club, so give her $400 a month, right?
Correct.
And the city provides half of that to the community club's budget.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we couldn't raise that by $100 a month, and the city raise their portion. Since it's city, I mean, the website is really city work, it's not community club.
Yeah, you know, we have I guess a unique arrangement where we have a community website that has the community stuff and really has a city side also.
Right.
So, you know, we've tried to only have that one site, but it really is kind of two separate,
Right.
unique deals.
It works really well. I went in and, you know, you can get on the campground stuff, just a click. You can go to the business directory on a click. I mean, it seems to me, what little I know about it, that it works really
Yeah,
well.
I think we're really pleased with it. You know, just this, the reboot of the website had 2 kind of overarching goals. And the first one was make it mobile friendly. Okay, folks look at things on their phones now, and it has to be formatted in a certain way in order for it to view right on a phone. Because before, when you'd bring up our website, you know, a quarter of the page would show or something like that, and you're scrolling around looking. So it's mobile friendly now, but the other part is that it has full content management, where we're able to manage all of the content locally, and we weren't able to do that before. So Vicki talked about, like, we had Blue Space make a few changes for us, but really the fact is that we just didn't do many changes because
They
we
charged a
couldn't do
lot.
it ourselves and they would charge, so.
So I just think we've got I bet we've saved at least 10,000 or better by her doing what she's done. I just think
The
we
thing
should
is, when
compensate
we, you know,
her.
we hire this summer help on a, per hour basis,
Okay,
you know, and we pay one person more because basically she's working part-time, right?
yeah, yeah, she works part-time, but hours really, of course, fluctuate from month to month. But
Yeah, but the only thing is, are we gonna get, that's what I'm asking, are we gonna get in the bind with these people that you wanna pay them 20 and these other guys are making what, 10 or 11?
I guess I would not at all recommend that we do anything on an hourly basis that gives you any indication that she's a city employee,
I
'cause she's
just-
not, you know.
I use that as an example. She's put in 192 hours to build the website.
that.
It's not something that recurs. I'm just saying that at $20 an hour, it would be 35, 40.
You know, and that's all I'm saying is, you know, if people read this on your camera.
One of the things that we talk about, she's gonna make the updates. Do we have a plan how often she would update it would be? I'm saying we should give her something, don't get me wrong, but I mean, I wanna make sure that we keep it
We're-
clear that what our expectations are, or what are, I'm not saying she has to do it, but we need to have somebody with Kay go in there and update some stuff.
Okay, now that's another important distinction on the updates, again, the community side versus the city side.
Right,
Okay, because Kay's taking care of the updates on the city side.
okay.
And that happens regularly, of course, when we post council stuff in videos and minutes and that type of stuff. So Kay's able to manage a lot of the stuff on the city side. But then any of the community stuff would be done by county. And, you know, that also happens pretty routinely, because anytime a special event's coming up, there's new stuff to be added.
So,
She also keeps up the business directory, which,
Yeah.
you know, we've struggled keeping that thing current. You wouldn't think it'd be hard, but it is.
so what I'm asking, we're not overextending her expectations, working for the community club, if she just focused on the community club, you know, in the future, I'm talking about.
I'm not sure if I understand, but I think the hours that she would spend doing this would be separate.
Yes,
So when
definitely,
she-
yes, that's what,
Yeah.
I agree with that, but I mean, so in the future, is she gonna look at it, you know, for the community club only, I'm talking, inside, that she would she be checking that be included in her duties, I guess is what I'm saying. Since this is for
I
the
think-
community side only.
Well, I'm not sure I'm following, but, so for instance, when we hired them, we had the marketing duties, you remember? We
Right.
had that marketing,
And there was.
what we went by. So I think this would be added to that, to support the increase in the monthly wage. And when she submits a bill to Community Club for payment, she lists everything she's done that month and what her time has been. Is she got a lot more in the summer than in the winter? Yeah, she does. And it's set up, I mean, that's the way we set it up. She wasn't gonna be just an hourly wage person. This is what we want you to do, this is what we're gonna pay you a month. We realize that some months you're gonna have 20 hours and some months you're gonna have 100 hours. I'm just saying that the hours she's put in to build the website, which is totally separate, it's not something that's recurring. I'm just saying that if you paid a web designer $20 an hour, which you wouldn't be able to do for a web design, that is $35, $40. I'm not telling you to pay her $20 an hour, I'm just saying, don't you think we should compensate her in some way? I'm not saying that amount, I'm just giving you an example of what $20 an hour at 192 hours is.
She had to retype all the city forms. And gee, that saved you and Kay doing all this.
Well, we realize
Some. I know she spent a lot of time on it. And if she takes her time to update this all the time, that would save a little bit less. She
It
does it
saves
timely.
hiring a private company to do
Yeah.
it like we've been paying Bluesville.
Because we didn't get our money worth out of it.
No, we did not.
And what we're looking to do is just compensate her for this 92 hours that she has put into this website first.
And then
Right.
then the
Completely
mayor,
separate from what she's doing for the community.
Right, and then separately to increase her wages by $100 a month to cover the updates she'll be doing. That's what I'm thinking, it's out for discussion.
So we can't really, since she's not an employee, is she a contracted employee? Or-
She works for community club, so you can more kind of think
So
of
she's
this
an
in terms.
employee of community club,
She gets a 1099 from.
She gets 1099,
so contracted employee.
yeah.
She does all kinds of city work,
Yeah, she does.
all kinds of city work.
So what kind of money are you talking?
She's redesigned the city brochures, Scott's always calling her to have her do something.
Okay.
We work together on something.
Yes, it's a cooperative effort. I guess I would say that, I think that we ought to give her at least $3,000 or $3,500 for the 192 hours she's already worked as a lump sum. And I'd like to increase her pay by $100 a month, funded by the city. Because it will be city work more than community club work.
is that a motion?
That's a motion.
That's a motion?
I'll second
What?
the motion.
What's your motion? What's the flat dollar amount?
The flat dollar
Three.
amount is $3,500.
Yeah.
Pay a flat fee around now $3,500 and increase the city contribution to community club by $100
A month.
per month.
Roll call?
Okay, Thomas,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Reese, Oldman,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Okay, we have reappointments for 2 Historic Preservation Commission individuals.
3, are they?
3, and they've all said they would want to do it.
Yeah, Kay and Deb and John would like to be.
Make the motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Moore,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Oldman,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Before you move on, can I ask something? I was asked about the historical, the building,
The museum?
the museum.
Okay.
We fund the library, kind of, do we fund the museum at all?
We do not.
We don't give them any money?
We do not. Now, we don't, but just today, I got a call from Richard Stoffragen asking if he could be on the agenda tonight to discuss, and I said, no, he couldn't be on the agenda, we have public forum time. You wanna be on the agenda, and he'll be on the agenda next time.
Oh, okay. Well, I
Now,
got a call
he didn't
too.
say what he was talking about, but I can assume.
Well, I didn't get a call from him, but I got a call from one of the board members and said that, they're kind of hurting for money and they're trying to do new brochures, and I know they wrote for a grant, and I was not real knowledgeable. I said, do we provide utilities, or, do we, and they're like, no, we're self-supporting. And I kind of was surprised, cause
Yeah, the relationship that the city has with the museum is that their building sits on city land, and that's just about it. We'll clean snow out of their parking lot, not too much more, mow the grass.
okay, I just wondered about it.
They've talked about asking for help in the past, but they've never come up and officially asked. Okay, you want to review the draft for the budget?
I did, well, it's not the budget, it's our capital
Capital
improvements
improvements,
plan.
yeah.
So, when we had all the department heads come to the last city council meeting and present their needs assessments, there was a few things that they talked about. They would say, that it should be slotted into future years, and there's some things that are in years 2, 3, 4, and so on. But for the most part, a lot of the things that they're talking about would be proposed for year one. And with the concept being that if the project would stay in the capital improvements plan in year one, that we would incorporate that into the budget. Okay? So, we'll talk about a couple things which may be problematic, and I'll highlight those when we get there, but other than that, you know, it's, the feasibility of doing these things is there, okay, financially. Just starting at the top, technology upgrade, we've set aside $5,000 every year from sales tax for technology upgrade, and that sometimes been used, sometimes not. But
So
it's
that
been used.
isn't the website?
No, that's hardware and
Okay.
software for the most part.
Okay, okay, all right.
Sometimes the computers die on us.
Yeah, I got confused with that, okay.
Financial audit is up a little bit next year because it will be a full audit, not this annual exam, because of the amount of federal money that we've been spending. Tuck pointing there for the building, something needs to be done there. This has the full amount of that study in there at $26,000. Now, we certainly would be taking bids from other providers when it comes time. And then we would take a look at if you would like to do all aspects of the project that was proposed by this one contractor who gave us the very in-depth proposal. He did a very nice job with it, but total was 26.
And that's just for the part that you've indicated?
Now, that's the entire building.
Oh, the entire building?
Now, that's not retucking the entire building, that is doing the areas where there's some problems. You know, 90% of the building is actually pretty good.
Okay, I see.
$500 would be for a couple new chairs for the public in my office. This generator for City Hall has been included several times, but, and just, we've never done it. I would like to continue to include that in the budget if the opportunity arises and we can get that done. I guess just know that we have a generator housed in the old ambulance shed north here of City Hall that runs City Hall. But it's not of a capacity large enough to run everything here, especially the boilers. You know, we don't run the boilers when we're running off of that generator. So you would look at.
Bill's the only one that can get it started, is that the deal?
I haven't started it for quite a while. I do know how to start it.
Because last time we had a little issue, wasn't it? Couldn't get it started. Something. It's like 100 years
I
old.
need to go do that here now that you say that, because you need to remember how to do it.
Do a test.
You know? In the electric department, routine underground replacement. Really, that's the only project that they'd be looking at for electric next year. That we've been budgeting that $85,000 a year for routine replacement. Where it talks about these capital funds, electric capital fund, that is us putting money into the capital fund. And capital funds for public works and electric are used primarily for equipment. So we're saving up money for equipment purchases. Fire department, they had requested some additional funding for station repairs, so they're looking at roofing and siding, and they talked about $5,000 annually for several years. So that this 5-year plan proposes just the $5,000 annually for it. They wanted to start replacing pagers, but there's 25 members, and if they replace 5 pagers every year, about $500 a piece, so it's about $2,500, and they could replace those over the course of 5 years. To continue to purchase new air packs, they need to purchase 6 more at some point. And this would again be a multi-year deal, looking at purchasing two annually for the next 3 years. And they do run about $7,000 a piece. On the garbage, about every other year we need to purchase garbage bags. And so if you look at that back room back there, you'll see it's still full. And but it does run. Last time it was a little over $8,400 for the basically 2 years worth of garbage bags. Library. This would propose to incorporate some amount of money in the budget for this library edition, and that still has to do with what the their anticipated timeline might be, whether they think that they'll be doing it this quickly. But again, remember, this budget goes clear until June of 20. That, you know, certainly, it would just seem like they would be doing a project by that time, so. And that,
But we don't have any figures, I mean, we have pie in the sky figures, but we don't have any other figures to compare to, because we paid the architect?
we just paid the architect tonight, so,
And then we will have access to that,
yeah, I
and
guess,
then we can do some checking.
Take it to the CAD,
yeah.
then they can put
We-
it, once we get that.
We have started working with Craig over Wall Lake Lumber about having him work the same process that we did with the shop, really.
Right.
You know, about having him design that, come up with some numbers on that for us. And then potentially we'd be able to bid this project, more of a local bid, using the same process like we did with the shop. So yeah, you're right that we don't have any updated numbers on this. That, where it says 350, that was the construction number from the consultant's original project study. You know, his total number was a little over 500 or so by the time you incorporated all of the fees and all the technology,
Well, and that was with the contents too, I mean, wasn't it?
and all of the fixtures, furnishings.
I just don't think it ought to cost $350,000 to build that room. I guess I've said that before, I said, I don't think so.
1,600 square feet?
It's all brick,
It would be,
Brick and block,
you know,
match the brick or let
just that it would look, yeah, the exterior would look the same as what it does now.
And they propose to recycle or re-roof the whole library at the same time, with the metal
Lovely.
roofing like we do with the other shows.
Parks, $4,700 annually goes into that capital fund for use within the general fund. Oftentimes that's mowers or other equipment that we might need for parks. Okay, this shows here as this Camp Crescent concrete pad and sewer project. When we bid that last time, it was around 190. You know, I put that in there at 175. I'm interested in your feedback on that. About whether we would rework the project a little bit and take out the stuff pertaining to green infrastructure and drainage clear on the east fence line area. So yeah, we'd take that stuff out, rebid it, you know, ideally here within the next couple months for construction to start after the camping season in 2019. Guess I'd throw that out there to you and see what everybody's thoughts are, and whether we could look to do that, or I guess what's your thoughts?
Well, if we went to rebid it without that, and, what was the reason we combined the pads and the sewer together? Can we separate those and do one this year and one next year?
Yeah,
or-
I mean, it's pretty, you end up tearing things up twice. And it doesn't allow for utilization of those spots then for probably most of this year, most of next year.
Would be nice to do is a sewer line a year ahead, so it'd have time to settle out, you know, so we don't get cracks.
Well, you know, a lot of the sewer, you know, is not under, the sewer main's not under those paths.
Well, I
You know, it
know,
runs between them.
but now you,
We don't have anything to lose by going to bid again without that.
Because I think last year, we bid wrong time of year. We
Yeah.
found out when we did the street project, that bid,
Right.
when you bid is the big issue. They've already got their stuff planned by middle of summer.
Yeah, we don't have anything to lose by
No.
going out bid, see what the price is gonna be.
I guess just know
We do have
it
to.
will cost us a little bit, you know, something. I hope it'd be less than $2,000 to rebid, but it would cost us a little bit.
We still have plan on taking out those two trees anyway. Also. We talked about,
You know?
I don't have any problem with what we did. Yes.
All right, Next item there is the fish barrier and the dewatering there at the inlet for the, using the sponsored project monies. To re-side the Parks Garage, and that truly needs to be done here sooner rather than later. It's really deteriorated. Looking at that trade-in of the Toro lawnmower. Mulch for the playground, and that's just supplementing the mulch. You know, it's not replacing any of it, it's just adding new stuff to it periodically. Last time we did that would have been 2 summers ago then. Aquatic herbicide for the lake, that shows the costs for the 2 applications then that we've talked about. Replacing the red Dodge pickup in the parks, there's no cost associated with that if we would rotate that old police department or administration truck down. The park staff would like us to consider this small tractor with the bucket, blade, tiller, that type of stuff. That number 17,000, John's been doing a little bit of checking, and that would be a used machine of some sort.
Yeah, 2013 is what they have. It may be gone by the time we get there, but they'll have other ones.
Where's the bucket, John?
Van Wall, okay. They got like 15 stores.
Yeah.
Well, you might wanna try Haley too.
Yeah, Haley and then
He has a bunch
Robinson.
of stuff sitting there too.
Yeah, 'cause-
always.
yeah, 'cause Haley didn't have any when I looked at the time, but that
Well, I
doesn't mean
think
he won't
Haley
have one.
always, he's a good,
He's a supporter.
community too.
Yeah.
you know.
And I think that tractor would be really good to help work on getting that goose manure out of that sand, because that's what we get the complaints about.
Put a sweeper on it, go down the sidewalk.
Yes, get rid of the goose.
I think they got a sweeper, don't you?
We do, we have a sweeper that goes on the front of that Kubota.
Right.
I've never seen it in use,
They've never done it.
ever.
The
We use it
sidewalks.
for snow removal. But yeah, other than that, the
They do
room
that
goes on and
pretty
off
early,
once a
don't
year and it's used for snow removal.
Oh, right, Carrie, I get up early.
Did we put it in the budget for one?
Slam,
Okay.
slam.
No,
We,
Budgeted $5,000 for it.
we had talked about that and that was in
I couldn't
the
resist
capital
it.
improvements plan, and Bill would not recommend that we do that.
Yeah, well, then, I guess we won't get rid of the manure on Ice House Point on the trail.
It is awful. It's awful down by the piers, and people do complain, they're walking all the time. It is awful. I just
we
said
got the-
shoot the geese, but
got a big infiltration of geese this afternoon. I got that on the side, full of geese.
On the east side,
Oh,
They call that hopscotch walking along the pier, they jump from one pile to the next.
it's awful.
a kiosk for our historic assets that would continue to do 2 of those per year, and we would apply for grant funds again to fund half of that.
How
For-
many more do we have?
I think 4.
4?
2 more years, I think. And we will do 2 more again this year, that grantless fund. For the police, they would look at purchasing a vehicle, so that's having us purchase a vehicle every other year, and then we always set money aside during that, the year when we're not purchasing. In-car camera, the one that we have doesn't consistently work properly. And they would look at funding that, some general fund, but through the STEP grant also. Look at replacing the body cameras, 4 of them. Do you guys figure anything out on type of body cameras you guys are looking at?
I think we need to go with what's called Axon. It's what the county attorney wants all of us to have. They upload automatically when we put them in a docking station. He can just log on to that and get all the video he needs. It's less storage too. We're running out of storage. We keep running up our computer towers because video takes a lot of storage. That just goes into the cloud. It's stored up there.
How high priced are they?
They're not cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't.
Yeah.
It's like anything else. It's technology, so it's gonna go up and down, but
Right.
they're not cheap, and there's, I wanna say there's probably some cost associated with some cloud storage. I can't imagine there's not unless it comes with a package when you purchase them. I would say they're gonna be about $900 a camera. Is my
this
guess.
they're figuring 800 here.
Figured 800.
Well, then I would say 9.
Yeah,
because nothing gets cheaper.
that ain't bad though, really, I mean, if it's something you ain't got, because the other ones they had to replace already, right?
Yeah, ours aren't working, and, you wouldn't think we go through a lot of storage here, but we do. We record every contact we have. Most of that will never be needed or used, but we record everything we have just in case. Because everything could turn bad at any second.
So how long do these actually last, these bikes?
Axon should last a long time. It's a big company. It's Taser. It was called Taser, so it's a huge company. They've now called them Axon. Those should last a very long time. The $150 cameras are running now, a year, maybe two. They get rained on, they get snowed on, and that's about all they're gonna last, a year or so.
But you gotta have them anymore.
You don't have much choice. It's just, I mean,
It protects us.
Last item on police is then also a new radio for the patrol vehicle. Sanitary sewer, we still will have some amount of the lagoon project for budget purposes, which would roll over into next year. This says $1.5 million. Again, we set money aside in our Public Works Capital Fund every year, and what I've been doing is increasing that amount that's set aside by $1,000 here. So it'd been 15,000 a couple of years ago, then 16, 17,000, just because, of course, the cost of everything else continues to go up dramatically. Lift station upgrade, this would propose to retrofit that, what we call the county road lift stations, kind of by Dina Hoag's house there. We need to pay our last year back to ourselves on an internal loan for the sewer jetter. And then for street work, we need to pay the county for that patching, which was done on Quincy, there from Graham Hoag's into the south. Okay, so that was all done last year, but we had this agreement with the county that we would pay in this upcoming budget year. So that is about $32,000.
That's worse than it was.
It's not very smooth.
No. I think the road in hell was better before we did it, to tell you the truth. But it's done.
Yeah. Now here's one of my big issues. Bill would request that we would continue to do street work. And he's looking at his needs assessment actually had suggested we'd be at $125,000 for another patching and seal coat project. Just know that by the time we pay for that Quincy Avenue patching, basically we will not have any money in our street construction set aside. So if we want to continue to do some street construction this year, it'd be coming up with other places to obtain the money. And that's why I put that in on page 32, if you can just flip there real quick. Those are the balances of the general fund, local option sales tax. Also shows hotel motel, which you could not use for streets.
So I don't remember, did you put money back every year for streets?
We do, yeah.
Every year? And how much in other years?
It's, it's been 45,000-ish.
Okay.
Well, what we do, Vicki, is, we get so much money in road use tax
Right,
every year.
right.
We pay for half of a person out of that, and snow removal, and then street maintenance, okay? And whatever's left over out of that road use tax money then all gets transferred into our construction fund, which has been 45,000-ish, but it varies from year to year.
So we could set some money aside without using it and try to set it up so that we don't use it, but match it up for the following year.
But yeah, potentially, I just know that, of course, streets are very expensive, and we don't come anywhere near close enough with our road use tax funds to be able to continue to do street projects every year. It just, we don't have money for that. So if you want to continue to do projects, you're going to be looking to fund them with some other monies. Also the history is that we haven't done street projects every year. We we don't have money for it, and we just haven't done it.
So Bill doesn't
And-
wanna do street projects every year,
Bill would love to do street projects every year.
he wants to seal coat.
Even if it's just some seal coating. Now, I would tell you, seal coat costs about $2 per square yard. So, just in rough terms, you know, for a city block here, it's about $2,500. You know, if we do $25,000 of that every year, you could still accomplish quite a bit. You know, it's 10 blocks.
But that kinda saves your major too. If you seal coat some, you're gonna save major repair
It'll
too.
postpone
You know,
it for a while.
that's the idea,
Yeah.
is, just remember, when you think about seal coating, when they put a seal coat on, it does not add any structural strength to the road. What it does is seals it. Water can't get in it anymore, and that's, you know, water's the biggest detriment to streets, so
So,
that's the idea.
so bringing somebody in, is there like a minimum that they'll come in for, or that you gotta guarantee them so much, or? How does something like that work?
Just that it affects their price per square yard about how much they do. Now, Wall Lake does about $25,000 a year, and they get a contractor to come in.
If we could do it, say, set it up at the same time, that'd be something that would be interesting.
Potentially.
Is it any potential streets that are necessary that needs to be done right away, or are we just talking about preventive maintenance, or we got some that are real problems?
Some that, you mean, because we can't really do another big street project for another 10 years, right? I mean,
Big concrete project again, like we did,
right.
over $1
so
million
what we gotta
would be
do is
another
pave
8 years or
the
so.
bad streets we have along for the next 10 years. I would say 7th Street is one of those. That's chopping up pretty bad.
We are getting to have quite a few streets around town that are getting alligator, and
That North Shore is horrible.
now, I guess I'm not sure where you're at, but if
Well,
it's,
North State
East
Road?
Shore,
You should, oh.
the north part of East Shore Drive.
and that is ours. And it will, you know, mostly all be ours after that annexation, so.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, and we'll talk more about this in general, about how do streets rate in your priorities?
But like Dave says, so if you're gonna like do some seal coating and you're gonna figure out how many of that you wanna do a year, then you need to put the additional money in to fund for this
Extra
10-year
40,000.
thing.
The extra 40,000, you mean, they're talking 44,000 plus.
Right, and yeah, we still wanna try to save money for a street project. You know, certainly. We know that we have some issues with alligator streets, and we have a handful of streets that aren't in really good condition. John has talked a little bit about West Street before.
So seal coating, how long would that extend? I'm trying to learn something here. The life of the particular street that we would put it on.
Well,
What's
so
the theory?
let's, I guess, so we think about, say, 6th Street up past Bill Winters' house. Now, this was a little bit different, because we leveled it up with asphalt and then put seal coat right over the top of that, okay? And that lasted for over 10, almost close to 15 years before we redid that street last year.
Okay.
It's not perfect and it's not pretty, you know, that way.
Is there a chunk?
It is a way
Probably
to
as good as,
to extend the life.
There we go.
You know, I was a little bit surprised, we did seal coat out there on Lakewood Drive. I didn't hear the first comment about that. We haven't used seal coat for several years, and I thought we might hear some comments on it, but we sure didn't.
It sure looks, and that's a nice smooth piece of road, you know. Bus, I mean, I'd go over it and get that, you know.
Okay, well, we're gonna need to have a lot more discussion on that one too. Dump truck set-aside fund, we instituted this last year to set $60,000 aside during this current budget year, and then we propose 60,000 again for next year. And to repair 2 intakes, these are both located down at the intersection of South Blossom and Harrison. Okay, my other issue that is problematic regarding money is that first one there at Water. We do need to replace the media in the nitrate removal system sometime. The way these numbers would work out, here's my suggestion to you, is that we save money for 1 year and do the project in year 2. Okay, we still get good nitrate removal, no problems with it, just that the length between times that we have to backwash shrinks. So where we had been, 200,000 gallons or more, Bill said they now backwash at 150,000 gallons. Okay, it uses salt whenever you backwash, so it does cost us to do that. But that's going to be my suggestion to you, is that we would save money this current year and then do it next year, and that I would pitch that we fund half of that project using sales tax.
What kind of cost increase would you save, basically waiting 2 years instead of a year?
I couldn't tell you. I guess, we always figure everything goes up 3%.
But I think we have to put more money in the water treatment plant, because it's getting 20 years old, and we got hooked for $9,000 here a while back. That never was in the budget, but we had to fix it. I just think we ought to maybe put some more money in the budget for the water plant, because it's starting to come apart.
Is that something we could use, give ourselves a loan again, sort of like we did with, that we could get the project done sooner?
Yeah, you can. You gotta be able to pay the loan back, which will be a problem. And I know and I don't wanna even look at rates right now either, but at some point, you'll be looking at rates on the water system here before too long, to make sure that it continues to generate enough money to support itself. Terrell System subdivision water. That is my cost. That I've not seen. I do not have the estimate from Bobby's engineer on that yet. We've requested that, and we don't have that cost. But that's my cost estimate on that, about $50,000. And again, that I would propose we would fund that using sales tax. And then we have some of these ongoing projects that we try to do every year. Some water valves, fire hydrants, continue with routine water valve replacement. We've tried to do that, and we have not done very many of them here in the recent past, and we need to get at that again. The idea on the water valves is certainly want to be able to isolate certain areas of town whenever you have any problems. And some of the a lot of the valves don't shut off completely. Some of them won't shut off at all. Okay, so.
That's what they said up there at Peters. They had to shut 7 different valves off, and finally got one to slow it down a little bit, and never found one that shut it off.
Yeah.
Some of those valves are hidden, nobody knows where they're at.
It amazes me though that there never was a map or made of that.
Well, we've got the best that we have, and
Right.
we have pretty good setup as far, and they're all GPS, and we should be able to find the ones that we know of. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's year 1. Again, the idea is if it would be included in year 1 of the capital improvements plan, we put it in the budget. So we want to continue to have more discussion about that. But this is a 5-year plan, and so as we look at just some of the additional years, just a couple things that I wanted to highlight there in year 2. My big question there deals in the sanitary sewer about removing the old sewer plant. We'll want to have that discussion here in the next couple of months, or 6 months, about what your thoughts are on that. I mean, we will bypass it, and we don't need to tear it out. But yet I'm sure that we'd like to have it on. So, we'll have that discussion. Just, I put an unknown cost there, but it's more than $100,000. Just, I
I
guess
can
you
believe that.
put that in the back of your mind.
But if you left it sit for, say, 3 to 5 years, it wouldn't have either. Probably.
Yeah.
Not unless somebody wants to buy a property or we
Well,
want to sell it or
Well, then we,
we
if you had a reason
utilize it
to,
some way.
if somebody wanted to buy the property, yeah, that's different. But of course, you're gonna have pipes and stuff of ours in there anyway that, for the city.
Yep. On the water, this would have us doing that nitrate media replacement then in year 2. Flipping the page, to page 28. Clean the interior of the water tower and clean the interior of the clear wall. These things need to be done periodically. And it's been, when we repainted, we had it all done. But that's now been, it's coming up on 4 years ago. So it's time to have that done here shortly too. So just cleaning the interior of the tower and the clear well will be at least $10,000. And then when you flip to page, to year 3, if you look at cleaning the exterior of the tank, you'd be looking at probably $15,000 to clean the exterior, so.
Is that when all the sand ate the camping, the radios and stuff? When the sand blasted that?
Not that I know of.
Because they covered them up, but it still got full of sand. Hate to repeat it.
You don't see the rust, or is it rust and stuff on the outside of it,
And
but I don't see.
when the tower gets discolored up top, it's milted.
Oh, okay.
So whenever water's always dripping down the outside of that.
Hmm.
And it drips down to certain areas on the, kind of the underside of the wine glass, and that's where mildew can grow there, so.
That's why the different colored paint, so it doesn't show.
That's why we raised the blue up quite a little bit higher, so that it wouldn't show, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, any questions or comments on the capital improvement plan?
We'll take the administrator report.
And the report deals with those 3 grant projects that were funded by the Sac County Endowment. So the Historic Preservation Commission, their kiosk project was funded. And you can see the cost on that was $2,500, something like that. And that's half funded by grant. The shelter house HVAC and canopy project, that was funded to a $25,000 grant. We had total project cost at $56,000. We're looking at some alternatives as far as the heating and cooling system, and we were looking at these Mitsubishi wall mount units, and they were substantially less.
I think noise.
They don't make any noise.
Yeah, noise would be an issue.
Yeah, furnace would make noise, because if you don't have ductwork, there's noise in the fan that transmits. These don't make any noise. And that's what everybody's putting in. Matt Scheffler's put quite a few of them in.
Well, they,
We got a better price the second time we asked another outfit.
up at the Catholic Church up at St. Mary's, they have them, and you
You got it? Yeah.
don't hear them.
I think we should redo the shelter house as much as we can in the next 2 years. I think we should tear out that
The
grill
fireplace.
and that fireplace and make that thing usable so that you can have a big meeting. The time we had that city assessment thing and part of the people were behind it's just not conducive to a meeting.
We had started some real preliminary discussions with Men's Club on that, because we would certainly want Men's Club to be involved
That would be great.
with that notion about, want them involved in the decision-making about that building. They built the building originally. And about whether we could remove the fireplaces and the grills out of the center. Okay? So, and we talked with them, and I'm gonna drag you on to the next Men's Club meeting here, and we'll go through the process there with them about, see what they would like to do. The other thing that we did talk with them more about though was actually getting some more insulation up in the attic too. You know, there's less than 2 or 3 inches up there, and we would have them blow in some more. And they'll help us out with that.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Now, the other project,
I think we should rent it out for more money.
Well,
I do too.
we need to have that discussion again about rental fees. Just know that we rent half of the building for $30 and the whole building for $50. During the summer, it is rented virtually every weekend day. Our ideas, even back, God, it's been 10 years ago, I suppose, we changed the rental rates. And the idea would be to basically cover cleaning costs, you know, which it still probably does, but we should take a look at rental rates here, I think, shortly too.
Because it needs work, and now we're gonna change, you know, we're doing a lot of updates, and we've had to replace stoves, and
I think
Air
more
conditioner?
it's $100.
$100, yeah, I think.
Legion's 75.
On page 33 is a mock-up of our other project, which would be the street sign project. Okay, when we had Prison Industry give us a proposal on all of these, they gave us a mock-up of what they all look like, and they all look great. They all have our sailboat logo on them right now. We had discussed the idea of having sailboat logos on one-way direction, say sailboats on north-south streets, and bicycles on east-west streets. I'm interested in your thoughts on that, and if we want to go down that road.
It's a great idea.
I think so
Be
too.
different.
I do too.
I don't, are we using that particular sailboat?
It promotes both.
Yeah, it's our logo.
What do you want, pod dude or what?
Be happy.
Are you not a fan of that logo?
I'm not opposed to that logo.
No, it looks good.
I know it's all right.
What I do not have is any type of logo pertaining to a bicycle.
I thought maybe you didn't need the line. I mean, why does it have to be the logo? Because the bikes aren't gonna do the logo. Why can't it just be a simple sailboat and a simple bike?
We could take the lines out, I guess.
It can, you know, as I'm preparing a mock-up, I just used our logo.
Right. And I don't care. If you guys want the logo, I don't care, but I just wondered.
How many signs are they talking?
All of them.
I know that.
I don't remember what the number
There's a
was.
lot
I'm talking
that need
80
to be,
or something.
a lot that need to be replaced, repaired, and
Yes.
poles that need to be replaced, repaired. Boy, would I love to get some address numbers on houses,
Yes.
you know. and this
That's
morning
up to
we
the
had a-
individual, isn't it?
You know, we actually have a vote on that, so we could
Yeah,
require it, you know, we would.
police, fire, and EMS, it would just be,
Much
against
better.
me out to have a number on every house. I mean, but, I don't know.
Big project for
This is
hometown
step
project.
number one.
You know. The other
Depends on
thing,
people's homes that need it.
Yeah.
That'd be a good thing for hometown pride then.
What if you, I mean, I know some people have their own numbers, or some people want their numbers to look good with their house or whatever, but what if you ordered a bunch of numbers and people could purchase them, and then like.
yeah, I kinda thought about that too, if we, coordinate through the lumberyard or whatever, and
Right.
say, here's 4 standard sets of numbers, you know, if you would pick one of those, they would have them available for a reduced cost.
You know, maybe like Hometown Pride, and that could coordinate doing something for people that couldn't afford them.
We,
I
boy, we
mean, they're
looked at
not
this.
not very expensive. You know.
No, they're not.
Usually they need
Few
somebody
bucks
to
a
put them
piece,
up.
it's just getting them up on
Yeah.
the house, after you get them.
Whitey's retired, him and I can put them up.
Okay.
But he was really agreeable on that one.
As he waves goodbye.
Plan it for February, right?
Sitting on the curb drinking.
But
I mean,
that was,
in all seriousness, it's
Oh, yeah.
troublesome at times,
It is.
you know?
It's as important as a fire hydrant that works.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
They're expensive,
signs.
yeah.
You need them.
could make a difference in a few minutes of, you know,
Okay.
Yep.
seeing of something, but, you know, when it can make people do it, I don't think you can, but I don't know, it's just.
Who's doing the
Well,
signs,
if you,
the community club or the hometown club?
What, these? I would just,
Yeah, it's,
No, I know
Just to
that.
the city.
it's a city project.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought they was gonna get involved in that.
No, you know, city staff would be charged with putting these up.
you know,
Now, on Hometown Pride, though, they will have one recommendation, and see what you think of this, is that they thought that we should paint the silver poles black.
Can we get some Chris money, match Sac City?
Yeah, I go,
is that what sacks are they black?
Yeah,
they're black.
they look nice, they really do.
What was that stick?
But that's because of the red signs,
I,
too.
yeah, I don't
They
know.
don't have red signs at SAC.
Quite a few of them.
But it's in,
There are no red signs inside.
Not,
They're all blue.
they're red up early.
Okay.
Really got brand new ones.
I think you can see them better.
Oh, yeah, yeah, bigger so people can see them.
and
Well,
then,
see, that's what I don't think, why we need these bigger signs?
well,
Why do we need any bigger than we have?
the ones that.
Well, this, it makes a big difference, Jerry. The existing ones now, the letters are 4 inches tall,
Yeah,
okay? These would be 6-inch tall letters.
yeah.
And then, of course, the spacing on the sign gets different because the letters.
What about the plows and stuff, are they gonna be able to get, are you gonna have to dig in new signs or
Not anticipating.
to get back further?
Might have to straighten a couple of them,
yeah,
but they're far enough back, they won't hit them.
and then, you know,
Some are missing.
was it Sac City was selling the old signs?
Yeah, yeah. It's a museum fundraiser.
There you go, the museum needs money, there you go.
There you go.
We can give them the old signs, they can sell them.
I will
I will
get some
tell you,
ideas together on a bike, but.
hats off to that museum committee. I was in Kathy's one day and there was 4 visitors that were staying at a Airbnb here out on Crescent Park. And they were wanting to know about historical buildings and whether the resort or the museum, they'd really like to see the museum. It was the day after Christmas. I called Jane Kroll, she went down there and met them in 10 minutes. Gave them a tour, they thoroughly enjoyed it, and one of the ladies had something to do with the state library, or state museum or something. Anyway, just hats off to the board members, they stepped up.
Just clarifying on this bike thing, that I'm looking at a bicycle, not just a bike wheel,
Right,
and it's just a bicycle, not a bicycle person with a rider.
right,
Just a
just a
bicycle.
bike,
Right, simple.
All right, good.
just a boat, just a bike.
Yeah, it could be a.
Sounds like a country western song.
Yes.
So you're
Yeah, I
gonna
know the
have
bike
to,
is-
that's 42 inches long, you're gonna have a 2 posts on
Boy,
it.
boy, boy, boy.
No, they're all still just
In the
Xed
middle.
on a middle bracket.
Think so.
I didn't even show you the longest ones, Terry. Some of them were 5 feet long.
Yeah, the lake,
Lakewood
Cutoff.
Cutoff is
But there's
is a
only 2.
long sign, but
It just seems like take more to hold that, you know, that 42 inches pretty long.
Just a couple of things then. We will meet again tomorrow night for that planning session. Okay? Did you bring your scoring sheet with you tonight?
I did.
I would like to have that, and then
And then I can write some things on it that I want, not that I want, that I think ought to be considered.
right, yes, please do.
Like,
Okay.
So anyway, that'll be tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Sac County League is this week, it's Thursday, in Odebo. So, that's at 6:30 on this Thursday. Then the following Thursday, the 17th, Lakeview hosts Northwest Iowa League. And I sure would like for as many people as possible to attend.
That's at 6:30 or 7?
That one, social times for Northwest Iowa?
No,
Okay. 6:30, over
6:30,
social
no.
times at 6:30 at Wall Lake, at Odebolt on Thursday.
At 7 meal.
Yep, meals at 7. So far, they haven't asked for RSVP, so.
Omaha, they still have a council that meets once in a while.
I don't think much matters there, but no.
We've been over and over and over, but wasn't even there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
But anyway, on the 17th, Lakeview hosts Northwest Iowa League, and I sure would appreciate it if folks could show up to that. Now, that, social time's at 5, the
5.
dinner's at 6.
So it's earlier.
at the Carp.
And that'll be at the Carp. And the program doesn't sound too interesting, but I think it will be good. It's, the League of Cities is coming to give an update on their property tax study.
In the back.
Yep, rollback, backfill, and different types of tax levies,
And that's what date?
17th.
Yes.
Yep, and then just to add one more things to Thursday night, the following Thursday, then after that, the 24th, is countywide hometown pride meeting, and that's over Wall Lake. But they would like mayors and councils to attend that, to really see what all the hometown pride committees have been doing. And, you know, we've got a lot of things that we'd be pretty proud of, so we want to kind of highlight those.
And the mayor of Wall Lake would really like to have you there.
What's that?
The mayor of Wall Lake would really like to have you there.
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
See you tomorrow night. Motion to adjourn.
I'll take that motion.
Second,
Second.
meeting adjourned.